Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Illuminated Mind Podcast. My name is Matthew Brownstein. I'm the founder of the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy and the International Association of Interpersonal Hypnotherapists. And one of our, crowning achievements has been founding the Nirva Interpersonal Hypnotherapy Clinic. And the podcast here for Nirva is designed to help listeners to get to know some of our wonderful practitioners. So I'm here today with certified clinical transpersonal hypnotherapist Lauren Welchner. So Lauren, thank you for being here, first of all.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.
You mean a lot to me, and the school has meant a lot to me. So I'm very excited to get to sit down with you for a while.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here. So tell us about yourself to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Lauren. I graduated from the school last year, so I've been running my hypnotherapy practice for about a year. Before that, and currently, I'm still an actor now. And I would say I started getting into this meditation specifically. I started getting into meditation during the pandemic. I had always kind of been a little bit spiritual, but never fully dived in. And then when the pandemic hit, it was kind of like I had nothing, my whole industry, the acting and theater industry shut down. So I had nothing to do except for sit by myself with myself and like face myself really for the first time.
Yeah.
And I started following Dr. Joe Dispenza and doing his meditations. And I went to some of his events. And at those events, and within myself, I saw kind of miraculous healing through the subconscious mind in ways that just were blowing my mind. I didn't know could be possible. The people I went with, my parents, with my partner as well, I saw in them, one of them had tumors, not cancerous, but like you could see and feel all over his arms and his back. Within the week, they were gone from a week of meditating and doing things like that. And the people around me, I was seeing these huge changes. But it seemed to me not random, but you just had to meditate for a long time and hope that something changed. And I think where hypnotherapy really helps me with that is you can use that beautiful power of the subconscious mind and healing from your heart and love, but you can target it. You can go in a certain amount of sessions and say, this is what I'm healing. And you can work with somebody to get to the root of that. And so for me, it's really been a way to kind of like wield that power of the subconscious mind in a really specific and targeted way. And that's kind of what led me to this work and what led me to you.
Beautiful. So I hear that you were kind of in the spiritual theme, but during COVID, it's like, what do I do with my life? And you got into Dr. Joe Dispenza. You noticed your partner had significant change through meditation, but I hear you saying you got into hypnotherapy because you wanted more targeted, systematic ways to transform what's in the subconscious mind. It's nice to sit there and meditate. We can tell people how to meditate, but for a profession, it made a lot of sense for you to get into hypnotherapy. What about your own healing journey? What led you into the work for you personally, if you don't mind me asking about that?
Absolutely. I've been very lucky in my life. I've been very physically healthy, but I would say my mind has not always been so physically healthy, especially as an actor. I find it's so difficult in that line of work. There's so much rejection and there's so much in other professions. You have a job and you keep that job. As an actor, it's not even a resume you send in. You stand in front of someone over and over and say, am I what you're looking for? Am I enough? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. And I found that really, really difficult and really, really challenging on my psyche. I was having a lot of anxiety, a lot of self-doubt, and my mind was just not a happy place to live in. And I think for me, I had to get to like a really, really difficult point before I said, okay, something has to change.
Yeah.
And I tried talk therapy, and I love talk therapy, and it's not that it was not helpful, but it wasn't what I needed. I needed freedom from my own mind, from the ego that I had created and the stories that I had created. And so that's where meditation and spirituality has helped me the most.
Beautiful. So I'm hearing that through acting and the constant rejection, I can only imagine 9 out of 10 times, like, nope, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. That can leave some deep-seated impressions in your heart, in your subconscious, and the part of the mind that stores our sense of self-esteem or identity, right? And I would imagine with talk therapy, you realized it was nice to talk about your challenges and get some feedback, whatever else they do, right? That's not our field, but I know sometimes people say, I talked about it, but I didn't really feel meaningful shifts. So I wonder, after being in this journey for a while now and seeing clients working in the field, what does subconscious healing mean for you? Because it's not just about talking about our issues with somebody who reflects back what we say and whatever else, a talk therapist might do. What's the difference between that and deep subconscious healing?
I think it's so easy, especially we live in a time right now where everybody kind of knows the therapy speak and
Yeah.
everybody knows kind of these buzzwords. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really easy to intellectualize our problems and our feelings. And even if you're correct, I think many people aren't correct about what the cause is of their symptoms or what the cause is of what they're experiencing. But even if you are correct and you go, I know that it's because my dad did this when I was this age and then I've whatever, and you've figured it all out, that's great, but you still have the problem
Yeah.
because it's become a part of you in your subconscious for so long. And so it's not that it isn't helpful at all to understand it,
Mm-hmm.
but then once you understand it consciously, it takes years and years and years of talking about it and actively working on it to really see that change for your body, for your subconscious to stop reacting as though those things are true.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in hypnotherapy, we go to the subconscious where the problem actually lives.
Mm-hmm.
And in a matter of, 4 or 5, sometimes one session, depending on the problem, it can go away as if it was never there to begin with. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's like skipping years of talking about it. If you can allow yourself to be willing to just feel it and move
Mm-hmm.
through it a couple times, which is challenging, and not everybody is willing to do that. But if you are, it can be so profound so quickly.
Yeah, and perhaps somebody who's doing long-term talk therapy, and again, we're both supportive of this at the same
Yeah.
time, talking about problems for years really means through all those years, you still have the problem. And as you've alluded to, even knowing the cause of the problem doesn't necessarily resolve the problem. Yet you're alluding to the idea of going through it to feel the feelings and that can be difficult. However, I believe you have said that healing doesn't have to be hard. Um, what are your thoughts on that? If somebody's saying, I might be interested in working with Lauren, I think I'd like to do this deeper work, but is that going to be reasonable, comfortable? Is it going to be hard?
I guess it depends what you mean by hard. When I say it doesn't have to be hard,
Mhm.
I mean it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be all this work for such a long amount of time. It depends on who you are. If feeling your feelings really feels that hard to you, it feels soft. It feels tender to me. It feels vulnerable.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that's what we were just talking about is what I mean by that, that if you can allow yourself to really look at yourself and open up in a tender and honest way, these things can actually shift in a matter of hours, in a
Mhm.
matter of days. And all you really had to do was be honest and open. And you didn't have to make huge changes in your life, although
Mhm.
they may follow those things. And you didn't have to spend years trying all of these different types of therapy, types of treatments, and things like that. It really is, if you can allow yourself to go there and be really open
Mhm.
and honest, it can be quite quick, and it feels beautiful.
Mhm.
There's rarely a time that I bring somebody out of hypnosis and they're not in a state of bliss or
Mhm.
in a state of love, which is something that you've taught us so
Yeah.
beautifully. And
Yeah.
so I guess that's what I mean. In the end, when people are on the other side of it, it was a beautiful experience for them,
Yeah.
not something that they would say was difficult or painful.
Nice, good. I'm sure people are wanting to hear that if they're considering hypnotherapy and they're saying, is this going to be really uncomfortable, difficult, hard? If you're willing to be honest and just to feel your feelings, it actually is quite nice. Like when we revisit childhood memories, sometimes we can be resisting that. I don't want to go there. That's painful. I don't want to look at it. That makes it hard when you're coming to do deeper hypnotherapy work, right? They're saying, I don't want to look at it. At the same time, it's just, as I'm sure you know, of course, I'm curious your thoughts on this. It's not just the movement into the pain to clear the pain, right? It's the movement towards wholeness. It's the movement towards alignment with our true self. So I wonder if you can talk about how you see moving a client. I know in our school, we talk about column A to column B, the problem state to the solution state. I'm working with a client now, actually, and it's a younger adult. I'm working with the parents as well. And they brought the younger adult in for just one symptom. And yet I started saying, I can't just work on the one symptom. I'm seeing the whole person. I want this whole person. I want your child to be whole and healed and independent and successful and free. What are your thoughts about if a client comes in just for an issue? Of course, you want to work on the issue. I'm sure you'd say yes. But what about the movement towards wholeness?
Yeah, I think, and you've taught us this so beautifully, and I have noticed that it's true within myself and within clients as well. It is so interesting when people come in for what they think they're coming in for, which is to fix one symptom. That
Mhm,
really is one symptom of their mind that has become like jumbled and tangled and is probably showing up in their lives in many ways. And even if we fix this one symptom, eventually it'll show up in some other way. And
mhm,
so I want and I do help clients move through those specific symptoms, but there's always kind of a secret agenda to bring them into wholeness, to bring them into love, so that these things don't keep popping up in their life and
mhm,
they can go through their life feeling much more at peace, much more connected. And so that's something that I'm always kind of secretly working towards, that the
mhm,
client doesn't even always necessarily know that I'm working to fix their symptom, to heal them, and to heal them in a much larger way as well,
mhm,
to heal them in how they move through the world and in how it feels to live inside their mind. Because, we each have a home, we might have an apartment or a house much more permanently. We have this mind that we
mhm,
live in, and we have to deal with that every second of
mhm,
every day. And so many of us have built these really painful stories, or even if we can't notice them as painful at the time, they're holding us back in life in so many
mhm,
ways
mhm,
and keeping us from experiencing how beautiful life is. And so I'm always working to make the mind that we live in a happier and more loving and more whole place to be. And
mhm,
from that place, most problems that people come in with
mhm.
disappear when they're in that state.
It's beautiful. I love you hearing, I love you saying the secret agenda because I know for
Yeah.
me, whether my clients know it or not, I'm facilitating their enlightenment. I'm guiding them to peace, love, joy, bliss, oneness. And they might say, but you have an agenda. Like only because I know and when you're in what we call the core state, right? A state of peace, love, and a personal wholeness, you don't have that issue anymore. And most of the issues drop away when you're in that state. I love how you're talking about you basically live in your own mind. And I remember saying to someone recently, there's nothing more precious than a quiet mind because no matter what's happened in your life, we all have the same challenges. But do we meet them through fear or love? Are we doing through chaos or peace? Are we overwhelmed? Or are we in our strength? And once you move a person into that, as I know the problems drop away. So the kind of hidden agenda is the movement towards wholeness. Even though people seldom come in saying, please help me to be whole. They say, please fix this problem. You say, yes, I will do that in your movement towards wholeness if you want. Or maybe just focus on the symptom that I couldn't agree more, of course, with you, move people towards wholeness. I wonder if you can talk to us about what clients have said they appreciate most about working with you.
Yeah, I
Mhm,
think people have, for the most part, been very generous in telling me how they've felt so seen and safe and supported with me. And
mhm,
that is something that I take really seriously, because as someone who's been in hypnosis many times myself, I
mhm,
know that it is very vulnerable to allow yourself to be seen like that by another person and be
mhm,
held like that by another person. And so I take that space really really seriously, and that's something that's been felt.
mhm. Yeah, beautiful. So people feeling safe, feeling a sense of trust, they can open up, they can move ahead. What kind of changes have you noticed in your clients' lives?
It's been really incredible. I've only had my practice for about a year. I graduated from your school, a little bit over a year ago, and truly the changes have been huge. I had a client dealing with really, really severe endometriosis. to the point where every month for a week, she couldn't get out of bed.
Mm.
She couldn't even make it to the bathroom sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
like just walking around hunched over.
Mm.
And I got a text from her after working with her. She experienced the first normal period of her entire life. And things like that are like, that's a week out of every month that she was incapacitated
Mm-hmm.
and then was able to find some normalcy. But I think the biggest joys for me, I've had a couple clients that have come to me wanting to work with me long term on many different issues. And they come in and we make a list together of all the things that they wish were different in
Mm-hmm.
their life. And we work together every week for, I don't know, 6 months. And most of the time by the end, we look at that list and everything that they could think of that was wrong with their life is either completely better or is significantly better. And that's when I can look at this work and be like, wow, it really, really works. And it works for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them to put on the list even things that they don't think hypnotherapy can help, things that
Mm-hmm.
are just problems they have and would never think to do
Right.
subconscious healing around. But as you said, when we get into that place of wholeness and that place of love and we start to get comfortable there, we start to live there, all of these problems start to disappear.
Yes. I love how you said that because it is something I teach in the school that I've done in my private practice for years. Client comes in with an issue, you say yes, but make a list of all the issues you're dealing with. And then when you look at the list, you're like, I can help with all those issues. And you let them know. Basically, I love the model that anything the mind affects, hypnosis can work on, and the mind affects everything.
Everything.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So beautiful. So you've done a lot of your own personal growth journeys recently. I've heard you've been to Peru, that you've done
Yes.
ayahuasca. I wonder if you can tell us about your thoughts about maybe psychedelic therapies or plant medicine and how that relates to hypnotherapy, but you're also your own internal changes. Like what have you seen that's come from that? And can somebody just do ayahuasca or even like a breathwork group experience or any other plant medicine? And can they get the same results that you might see with facilitated one-on-one hypnotherapy? What are your thoughts on this whole topic?
Oh, I have so many thoughts.
Sure.
Great question. I've done ayahuasca twice.
Uh-huh.
I did it for the first time 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Um, and I had the most profound ego death, I would call it. I mean, we know nothing dies really, but just dismantling of all of these things that I thought were true about myself, but I had really just kind of decided them. Um, and I really let go of so much of what I thought was myself. And then this last time that I did it, I felt kind of a continuation of that journey, but instead of letting go of something, I felt like I was being crafted into maybe the next version, the next step of
Uh-huh.
who I am. And both of those times, I actually was reflecting on this recently. The journey felt very much like a hypnotherapy journey to me. It felt like an intense regression, childhood regression,
Mhm.
because you go deep into yourself, or at least I did. I know everybody's experience is different. And I
Mhm.
think you've talked about having a really peaceful, beautiful
Yeah, yeah.
ayahuasca
Yeah.
experience. But for me, it was very intense. I think I did it at a time when I had a lot more to purge than you probably did when you did
Mhm.
it. But it's very, very intense, very, very personal and emotional. And it felt like I really had to face myself. I really had to look at all of the dark corners of myself
Mhm.
that I never look at. And then the first time we did it, I did it 4 nights in a row.
Mhm.
And on the third night, I had this huge breakthrough. And I went into this space in a way I'd been meditating for years, but I had never experienced this level of pure oneness,
Mhm.
pure love,
Mhm.
pure unity. And it just brought me to my knees completely. And it was like I was seeing the world without any filters on it, without any of those things that I think so much of the way that we look at the world is just a projection of our own subconscious. And that's
Mhm.
why it's so important to clean up the subconscious so we can see everything for what it is.
Mhm.
And what it is so beautiful and so such love. And I
Mhm.
guess in that way, it felt very similar to a hypnotherapy journey of going through the pain and
Mhm.
working through it and coming out and feeling this sense of love and oneness.
Mhm.
And once I experienced that,
Mm-hmm.
it's so difficult to put into words, but I was like, I think a purpose for me in life has to be to bring other people to this place because it is the most beautiful thing
Mm-hmm.
that there ever is. And I could like look back at so much of the problems that I used to have and the problems I see people around me having, and that they're just not real.
Mm-hmm.
And what's real is this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of led me to hypnotherapy as well, of how can I help people get to this place?
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. I love how you're saying that. It really touched me there. Like deep in the words, once you get it, you just want to give it away. Once you're
Yeah.
feeling love and oneness and you realize this is the solution. When my ego, quote, dies, what's left is everything I ever want to experience. I know Course in Miracles clearly says there's only one problem and one solution. The problem is you feel separate from oneness, from life, from love. The solution is get you back into that oneness, and then everything else basically drops away. So you can go to Peru, you can go to Colombia, you can go to, I mean, I've done it in the United States as well. You can do ayahuasca, but it's a big deal, and in some places it's illegal. And for some people, like I am not doing 3 or 4 days of altered state work with.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everybody. And also, I know somebody who's done it 16 times, and yeah, she purged a lot of deep-seated pain. At the same time, the same subconscious content can be cleared through hypnotherapy, and it's done systematically, professionally, and I'm sure you've seen that as well, right? That we can
Absolutely.
ayahuasca can now other substances can take you deep. At the same time, yeah, hypnotherapy, you could do a session once or twice a week, resolve your issues systematically without the travel, without all the other
Totally.
accoutrements that go with it. Definitely.
And I would still always recommend ayahuasca, but not everybody can do it at the same time. As you said, it's a big barrier. It's a financial barrier. Some
Mhm.
people, there's a medical barrier where they can't do it. And it's not for everybody to go into the jungle with the shamans and
Right.
throw up for 4 nights
Yeah,
in a row.
exactly.
Um, but it's so interesting. There's so many different ways to get to the core state. There's meditation, there's psychedelics, there's hypnotherapy, there's yoga. There's so many different ways to do it, and everything's just kind of pointing to the one place
Yeah.
and just saying like, "You go this way, you can get it this way, you can get it this way, you can get
Mm.
it this way." And it's really just finding the thing that works for you to get there. And of all of those things, I think hypnotherapy is the most reliable and the easiest that I've found, because it takes a really, really long time to learn how to meditate
Mhm.
well. It does not take a long time for someone to compassionately guide you through
Mhm.
hypnosis to achieve those same results. So I always point to hypnotherapy first.
I do too. I mean, I have lived in ashrams and monasteries. When I was living in India at an ashram, I was doing hypnotherapy on very advanced meditators. They have been meditating for literally 30 years, some of these people. And when they came to me with their issues, which they had, even though they've been meditating for 30 years, when I went into their subconscious, they had the same content as anyone else, because you can meditate to learn to find peace, but that kind of transcends the emotional pain, right? If we learn to meditate on the heart, we're going to look at what's in there, but at the same time, how can we resolve that on our own? For most people, we can't. So the facilitation of hypnotherapy to me is just so beautiful, because we can systematically clear the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, basically. Who do you feel most inclined to help? Is there something you specialize in, a certain type of client that you feel is a great fit for you?
I don't have a specialty. It's interesting. So many people have said your specialty kind of comes to you based on the type
Mm,
of people that come to you. So I've worked a lot with people who are starting their own businesses and feeling afraid to to take a step to put themselves out there, kind of paralyzed by fear or fear of
mhm,
judgment.
mhm,
I would really love to be working with actors and performing artists. I think because of my own background where I come from,
mhm,
I see so much how much pain and the types of pain that can be held there. And so I would love to extend this work to those
mhm,
people. But no, at this moment, I don't have a specialty.
Yeah, not necessarily specializing. Yet I hear you saying people who are struggling with internal pain, emotional pain, fears, things that hold them back in life would be something that you like diving into. And of course, working with actors, actresses, people, yeah, in the performing arts.
When I
Theater.
started my when I started my practice, I
Mhm.
asked my now husband, so fun to say that I got married 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. But I asked my husband to meditate on my practice with me.
Uh-huh.
And he had the most beautiful vision that I resonate with deeply. He saw kind of like an arch that represented people's life paths,
Hmm.
and like the tip of the arch being that like a big breakthrough moment in their life, when one of those like and everything changed at that point moments. And
Hmm.
he saw people coming to me right before they hit that breakthrough, when they're just kind of like bumping up against something. They know there's something next for them and they're just stuck,
Mhm.
and they come to me to help them
Nice.
get over that arch, get over that hump. And that's
Mhm.
something that I've really carried with me.
Perfect. I can see how generally it's a beautiful intention to say, I'm looking for clients who are at a place in their life where they're stuck. They want to move ahead. We all can empathize with that feeling of where I got to where I'm at. I'm still alive. I survived a pandemic. I'm still here, but I want to go further. And it sounds like people who are in that place would be advised, um, recommended to call you. Nice. Um, what do you want people to understand most about hypnotherapy?
So much. I think there's so much misconception
Hmm.
about it. Something that's been coming up for me a lot as I've talked to people about it is they're afraid that they'll lose who they are,
Uh-huh.
or they'll be stripped of their things that make them them. Um, and I think what I would want them to understand about that is that hypnotherapy takes away, we have who we are, and then there's the things that get placed on top of it by ourselves or by other people. And when
Mhm.
you take those things away, you just become more of yourself.
Yeah.
You feel more fully free to be who you are,
Hmm.
just because we're hypnotizing you to help you lose weight, to help you have less anxiety or whatever. What that's doing is taking away impediments to you being who you are. We're not changing your personality. We're not brainwashing you to become something else. We're just helping you come home to yourself.
Nice. That's such a good point. I've heard people say to me, when you hypnotize me, am I going to lose something valuable, something important? So I just see it as like you're a perfect diamond, but you got covered in dirt. You love
Love
who
that.
the diamond is. You love your essence. We're just getting rid of the dirt, the negative subconscious programming over the years, the fears, anxieties, the limitations. We're not getting rid of anything valuable, right? There's no sacrifice asked of you. Just be willing to let go of your fear. Be willing to let go of a false self, because what's left is everything you'd ever want to feel. So, what would you say to somebody who might feel nervous about beginning this process?
Um, I would say that it is so completely safe and
Mhm.
feels so good. I love the feeling of being in hypnosis. It's so relaxing. It's so loving.
Mhm.
And these problems that people are dealing with, they're already feeling them every day of their lives. They're already dealing with them every day of their lives. And so they might be afraid to look at them. They might be afraid to go into hypnosis and really take a peek. But they're
Mhm.
dealing with the effects of them already
Yeah.
every day. So
Mhm.
I think if you feel nervous to do it because you feel like it's going to be too intense or you can't do it, you're already doing it every day. And if you just do it with some supportive love and care to
Mhm.
help guide you through it, you may never have to again. You can live with so much
Mhm.
more freedom.
Yeah, I always say it's worth the price of admission. And I don't just mean financially. I mean, just be willing to just look at the one thing that you're dealing with every day anyway, right? I've had
Mhm.
students, I'm sure you've heard classmates, graduates at our school say, like when you're learning this, I don't want to like make them look at their discomfort. just look at it once briefly in a session, and pretty much we get to move you through it and resolve it. Right? Anything the mind is affecting, hypnosis can resolve. We just need to be willing to stop and look at it. There's nothing to be afraid of there. Like you said, it's safe. And just as kind of a disclaimer, when we've been using the word healing throughout this journey, this discussion together, it's always important to remember, anybody who's listening, if you're working with Lauren for a medical, mental health, or dental condition, we always do work with the referral of a physician. So it is legal for hypnotherapists to use the word heal as long as it's in the context of working in coordination with a licensed practitioner of the healing art. So I know you know that, but just so
very good point.
Listening, sure. And in wrapping it up, what do you hope listeners may take away from this conversation?
I hope that this could demystify the process of hypnosis a little bit and really help them understand what is possible for them, what sense of freedom, what sense of joy is waiting for them on the other side of this transition, if they're willing to be brave enough for a few sessions, a few hours to take a look at themselves and move through that, what joy and love is available to them.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that and for your time with me today, Lauren, for being a proud graduate of the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy and for being part of Nirva Interpersonal Hypnotherapy Clinic. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And if anybody is interested in private sessions with Lauren, you can find her at mynirva.com. So once again, mynirva, NIRVA.com. And so Nirva is obviously a play on Nirvana, right? So there's the theme of deep spiritual growth that happens through the work, yet also just the ability to transform individual issues. So I hope anybody who's listening, if you're interested in working with Lauren, find us at mynirva.com. We'll be happy to help you through whatever challenges you're going through. Thank you, Lauren, for being a guest today.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you for everything you do for the world through Nirva, through the school and your practice. Everyone that's been touched by you really appreciates it. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate being part of that and your kind words. Thank you so much, Lauren.